Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. Welcome back to a new book. We are starting The Fifth Agreement, written by Don Miguel Ruiz and his son, Don Jose Ruiz. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And if you want a quick little synopsis of this book and kind of what it's about, check out my short that I posted just a few days ago, just to get a little idea if you're not sure if this is something you want to listen to, or just stay along with me and join me for these videos and for every part of this book. Okay, so as always, we're going to start out with the introduction. We have acknowledgments. We're going to talk about the Toltec, which is where the origins of these agreements came from. So we're going to learn a little bit about the group of people called the Toltecs. Thousands of years ago, the Toltec were known through southern Mexico as women and men of knowledge. Anthropologists have spoken of the Toltec as a nation or a race. But in fact, the Toltec were scientists and artists who formed a society to explore and conserve the spiritual knowledge and practices of the ancient ones. They came together as masters, or nagals, and students at Teotihuacan, the ancient city of pyramids outside Mexico City, known as the place where man becomes God. Over the millennia, the Naguals were forced to conceal the ancestral wisdom and maintain its existence in obscurity. European conquest, coupled with rampant misuse of personal power by a few of the apprentices, made it necessary to shield the knowledge from those who were not prepared to use it wisely, or who might intentionally misuse it for personal gain. Fortunately, the esoteric Toltec knowledge was embodied and passed on through generations by different lineages of Nagals. Though it remained veiled in secrecy for hundreds of years, ancient prophecies foretold the coming of an age when it would be necessary to return the wisdom to the people. Now, Don Miguel Ruiz and Don Jose Ruiz, Nagals from the Eagle Knight lineage, have been guided to share with us the powerful teachings of the Toltec. Toltec wisdom arises from the same essential unity of truth as all the sacred esoteric traditions found around the world. Though it is not a religion, it honors all the spiritual masters who have taught on the earth. While it does embrace spirit, it is most accurately described as a way of life, distinguished by the ready accessibility of happiness and love. Now we have the introduction written by Don Miguel Ruiz. The Four Agreements was published many years ago. If you have read the book, you already know what these agreements can do. They have the ability to transform your life by breaking thousands of limiting agreements you have made with yourself, with other people, with life itself. The first time you read the Four Agreements, it begins to work its magic, or the first time you read the Four Agreements, it begins to work its magic. It goes much deeper than the words you are reading. You feel that you already know every word in the book. You feel it, but perhaps you never put it into words. When you read the book the first time, it challenges what you believe and takes you to the limit of your comprehension. You break many limiting agreements and overcome many challenges, but then you see new challenges. When you read the book a second time, it feels as if you're reading a completely different book because the limits of your comprehension have already grown. Once again, it takes you into a deeper awareness of yourself, and you reach the limit that you can reach in that moment. And when you read the book a third time, it's just as if you're reading another book. Just like magic, because they are magic, the Four Agreements slowly help you to recover your authentic self. With practice, these four simple agreements take you to what you really are, not what you pretend to be. And this is exactly where you want to be, what you really are. The principles in the Four Agreements speak to the heart of all human beings, from the young to the old. They speak to people of different cultures all around the world, people who speak different languages, peoples whose religious and philosophical beliefs are vastly different. They have been taught at different kinds of schools, from elementary schools to secondary schools to universities. The principles in the Four Agreements reach everyone because they are pure common sense, and that is true. Now it's time to give another gift, the Fifth Agreement. The Fifth Agreement wasn't included in my first book because the first four agreements were enough of a challenge at the time. The Fifth Agreement is made with words, of course, but its meaning and intent is beyond the words. The Fifth Agreement is ultimately about seeing your whole reality with the eyes of the truth, without words. The result of practicing the Fifth Agreement is the complete acceptance of yourself just the way you are, and the complete acceptance of everybody else just the way they are. The reward is your eternal happiness. Many years ago, I began teaching some of the concepts in this book to my apprentices, but then I stopped because nobody seemed to understand what I was trying to say. Though I had shared the Fifth Agreement with my apprentices, I discovered that nobody was ready to learn the teachings that underlie this agreement. Years later, my son, Don Jose, started to share the same teachings with a group of students, and he succeeded where I had failed. Maybe the reason Don Jose was successful was because he had complete faith in sharing the message. His very presence spoke the truth and challenged the beliefs of the people who attended his classes. He made a huge difference in their lives. Don Jose Ruiz has been my apprentice since he was a child, since he learned to speak. In this book, I am honored to introduce my son and to present the essence of the teachings we delivered together over a period of 7 years. To keep the message as personal as possible, and in keeping with the first-person voice of prior books in the Toltec Wisdom series, we have opted to present the Fifth Agreement in the same first-person style of writing. In this book, we speak to the reader with one voice and with one heart. And this first chapter is not going directly into the actual agreements. Let's see. There, like I said in my short, I think I said this, we're going to go into the 5 agreements, but we're also going to talk about some other things that they have presented to us in this book. So we have 2 chapters, and then in chapter 3, we start with the first agreement. So in looking at the length of our first chapter, it is a bit, I can read this one to you and then we'll stop right there and move on to the next chapter, obviously, in my next video. So the first chapter is titled, In the Beginning. It's all in the program. From the moment you are born, you deliver a message to the world. What is the message? The message is you, that child. It's the presence of an angel, a messenger from the infinite in a human body. The infinite, a total power, creates a program just for you, and everything you need to be what you are is in this program. You are born, you grow up, you mate, you grow old, and in the end, you return to the infinite. Every cell in your body is a universe of its own. It's intelligent, it's complete, and it's programmed to be whatever it is. You are programmed to be you, whatever you are, and it makes no difference to the program what your mind thinks you are. The program is not in the thinking mind. It's in the body, in what we call the DNA. And in the beginning, you instinctively follow its wisdom. As a very young child, you know what you don't like, when you don't. You follow what you like, and you try to avoid what you do not like. You follow your instincts, and those instincts guide you to be happy, to enjoy life, to play, to love, to fulfill your needs. Then what happens? Your body begins to develop, your mind begins to mature, and you begin to use symbols to deliver your message. Just as the birds understand the birds and the cats understand the cats, The humans understand the humans through a symbology. If you were born on an island and then lived all alone, it might take you 10 years, but you would give a name to everything that you see, and you would use that language to communicate a message, even if it was only to yourself. Why would you do this? Well, it's easy to understand, and it's not because humans are so intelligent. It's because we are programmed to create a language, to invent an entire symbology for ourselves. As you know, all around the world, humans speak and write in thousands of different languages. Humans have invented all kinds of symbols to communicate, not only with other humans, but more importantly, with ourselves. The symbols can be sounds that we speak, motions that we make, or handwriting, and signs that are graphic in nature. There are symbols for objects, ideas, music, and mathematics, but the introduction of sounds is the very first step, which means we learn to use symbols to speak. The humans who come before us already have names for everything that exists, and they teach us the meaning of sounds. They call this a table. They call that a chair. They also have names for things that only exist in our imagination, like mermaids and unicorns. Every word that we learn is a symbol for something real or imagined, and there are thousands of words to learn. If we observe children who are 1 to 4 years old, we can see the effort they make trying to learn an entire symbology. It's a big effort that we usually don't remember because our mind is not yet mature. But with repetition and practice, we finally learn to speak. Once we learn to speak, the humans who take care of us teach us what they know, which means they program us with knowledge. The humans we live with have lots of knowledge, including all the social, religious, and moral rules of their culture. They hook our attention, pass on the information, and teach us to be like them. We learn how to be a man or a woman according to the society in which we are born. We learn how to behave the right way in our society, which means how to be a good human. In truth, we are domesticated the same way that a dog, a cat, or any animal is domesticated, through a system of punishment and reward. We are told that we are a good boy or a good girl when we do what the grown-ups want us to do. We're a bad boy or a bad girl when we don't do what they want us to do. Sometimes we are punished without being bad, and sometimes we are rewarded without being good. Out of fear of being punished and fear of not getting a reward, we start trying to please other people. We try to be good because bad people don't receive rewards. They are punished. In human domestication, all the rules and values of our family and society are imposed on us. We don't have the opportunity to choose our beliefs. We are told what to believe and what not to believe. The people we live with tell us their opinions, what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong, what is beautiful and what is ugly. Just like a computer, all that information is downloaded into our head. We are innocent. We believe what our parents or other grown-ups tell us. We agree, and the information is stored in our memory. Everything we learn goes into our mind by agreement, and it stays in our mind by agreement. But first, it goes through the attention. The attention is very important in humans because it's part of the mind that makes it possible for us to concentrate on a single object or thought out of a whole range of possibilities. Through the attention, information from the outside is conveyed to the inside and vice versa. The attention is the channel we use to send and receive messages from human to human. It's like a bridge from one mind to another. We open the bridge with sounds, signs, symbols, touch, with any event that hooks the attention. This is how we teach, and this is how we learn. We cannot teach anything if we don't have someone's attention. We cannot learn anything if we don't pay attention. Using the attention, the grown-ups teach us how to create an entire reality in our mind with the use of symbols. After they teach us a symbology by sound, the grown-ups drill us with our ABCs, and we learn the same language, but graphically. Our imagination begins to develop, our curiosity grows stronger, and we start to ask questions. We ask, and we keep asking questions. We gather information from everywhere, and we know that we finally mastered a language when we are able to use the symbols to talk to ourselves in our head. This is when we learn to think. Before that, we don't think. We mimic sounds and we use symbols to communicate. But life is simple before we attach any meaning or emotion to the symbols. Once we give meaning to the symbols, we begin to use them to try to make sense of everything that happens in our lives. We use the symbols to think about things that are real and to think about things that aren't real, but that we start to imagine are real, like beautiful and ugly, skinny and fat, smart and stupid. And if you notice, we can only think in a language that we master. For many years, I spoke only Spanish, and it took a long time for me to master enough symbols in English to think in English. To master a language is not easy, but at a certain point, we find ourselves thinking with the symbols we learn. By the time we go to school when we are 5 or 6 years old, we understand the meaning of abstract concepts like right and wrong, winner and loser, perfect and imperfect. In school, we continue to learn how to read and write the symbols we already know, and the written language makes it possible for us to accumulate more knowledge. We continue to give meaning to more and more symbols, and thinking becomes not only effortless, but automatic. Now the symbols that we learned are hooking our attention all by themselves. It's what we know that's talking to us, and we are listening to what our knowledge says. I call it the voice of knowledge, because knowledge is talking in our head. Many times we hear the voice with different tonalities. We hear the voice of our mother, our father, our brothers and sisters, and the voice never stops talking. The voice isn't real. It's our creation. But we believe that it's real because we give it life through the power of our faith, which means we believe without a doubt what that voice is telling us. This is when the opinions of the humans around us start taking over our mind. Everybody has an opinion of us, and they tell us what they are. As very young children, we don't know what we are. The only way we can see ourselves is through a mirror, and other people act as that mirror. Our mother tells us what we are, and we believe her. It's completely different from what our father tells us or what our brothers and sisters tell us. But we agree with them too. People tell us how we look, and it's especially true when we are little children. Look, you have the eyes of your mother, the nose of your grandfather. We listen to all the opinions of our family, our teachers, and the bigger children at school. We see our image in those mirrors. We agree that this is what we are, and as soon as we agree, that opinion becomes a part of our belief system. Little by little, all these opinions modify our behavior, and in our mind, we form an image of ourselves according to what other people say we are. I'm beautiful, I'm not so beautiful, I'm smart, I'm not so smart, I'm a winner, I'm a loser, I'm good at this, I'm bad at that. At a certain point, all the opinions of our parents and teachers, religion and society make us believe that we need to be a certain way in order to be accepted. They tell us the way we should be, the way we should look, the way we should behave. We need to be this way, we shouldn't be that way, and because it's not okay for us to be what we are, we start pretending to be what we are not. The fear of being rejected becomes the fear of not being good enough, and we start searching for something that we call perfection. In our search, we form an image of perfection, the way we wish to be, but we know that we are not, and we begin to judge ourselves for that. We don't like ourselves, and we tell ourselves, look how silly you look how ugly you are, look how fat, how short, how weak, how stupid you are. This is when the drama begins, because now the symbols are going against us. We don't even notice that we've learned to use the symbols to reject ourselves. Before domestication, we don't care what we are or what we look like. Our tendency is to explore, to express our creativity, to seek pleasure and avoid pain. As little children, we are wild and free. We run around naked without self-consciousness or self-judgment. We speak the truth because we live in the truth. Our attention is in the moment. We are not afraid of the future or ashamed of the past. After domestication, we try to be good enough for everybody else, but we are no longer good enough for ourselves because we can never live up to our image of perfection. All of our normal human tendencies are lost in the process of domestication, and we begin to search for what we have lost. We start searching for freedom because we are no longer free to be what we really are. We start searching for happiness because we are no longer happy. We start searching for beauty because we no longer believe that we are beautiful. We continue to grow, and in our adolescence, our body is programmed to introduce a substance we call hormones. Our physical body is no longer a child's, and we don't fit in with the way of life we lived before. We don't want to hear our parents tell us what to do and what not to do. We want our freedom. We want to be ourselves. We were also afraid to be ourselves. People tell us, you're not a child anymore. But we're not an adult either, and it's a difficult time for most humans. By the time we're teenagers, we don't need anyone to domesticate us. We have learned to judge ourselves, punish ourselves, and reward ourselves according to the same belief system we were given, and using the same system of punishment and reward. The domestication may be easier for people in some places in the world and harder for people in other places. But in general, none of us has a chance of escaping the domestication. None of us. Finally, the body matures and everything changes again. We start searching once again, but now, more and more, what we are searching for is ourself. We are searching for love because we have learned to believe that love is somewhere outside of us. We are searching for justice because there is no justice in the belief system we were taught. We are searching for truth because we only believe in the knowledge we have stored in our mind. And of course, we're still searching for perfection because now we agree with the rest of the humans that nobody is perfect. Okay, so we're going to stop right there. And in chapter 2, we're going to talk about the art of humans, or symbols and agreements. And I'm going to take a little look here. I think I'll probably read this one on its own, and then I will read each agreement individually. And each agreement is probably going to take 2 to 3 videos to read, because this is just the first agreement right there. So as I read them, I will keep them all in their own videos, but it will be 2 to 3 videos for each agreement. Most likely, that might change. We'll see. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. Thank you all so very much for joining me. I look forward to reading these agreements with you. If you want to check out my playlist that has the 5th agreements, or the 4 agreements, sorry, by Don Miguel Ruiz, that is on there. And I also read another book of his called The Circle of Fire. So if you're interested in learning more about him or reading or listening to more books by that author, I do have 2 books on my playlist in the meantime. So yeah, I would recommend listening to the 4 agreements before doing this, but you certainly do not have to. It's not like you're not going to understand or you're going to feel like you're missing something, but the more you read it, the more that your outlook on it changes, the more your perspective on it changes. You may notice things you didn't notice before. So it is a really good book to revisit, as many of these are. So I love you all so very much, and I thank you so very much for joining me. And as I always say, because I really mean it, and I try to live by it, take care of yourselves and take care of those around you. And I will see you for the next chapter in our new book. Take care until next time. Bye-bye.